Independence Day 1977 was a red-letter day for space exploration. It was the day astronautics and communications technology connected two worlds.
The day Pathfinder landed, there were 100 million hits on NASA's Mars website. In the several months since then, there's been 700 million hits. That's more than the total number of people who vote in Western combined.
I had no idea myself how many pictures would be coming down how often. Millions of people got excited at these rocks out here in front of the camera, and there were so many of them, and they looked different, and the scientists told us how different they were. It's news, it's exploration in people's living room. How can they keep from getting excited about that? I just hope that we can keep that excitement going, is what I hope.
Mars Pathfinder rekindled dreams of space as a viable, desirable frontier. Dreams of a not-too-distant future in which humans explore, then colonize other worlds. But Pathfinder was much more than inspiration. Its real significance to our destiny in space was its insignificance on the balance sheet. The probe was a child of the new NASA, by the commandments better, faster, cheaper.
The amount of money that we're spending on Mars is the equivalent of one major motion picture a year. We're getting missions down to where they are in the same realm as things that people are willing to spend money on just to be entertained.
This is going to be spectacular. No, not through this crater. Yow! Woo! Those craters up there.
Better, faster, cheaper is a world away from the free-spending NASA which put men on the moon. The NASA which couldn't respond to budget cuts in the 70s and 80s, dooming plans for lunar settlements. For a large orbiting space station by 1990. And for humans on Mars by the turn of the century. With better, faster, cheaper, NASA believes that finally it can deliver. And where it promises to deliver most is the difficult doorway to space. The greatest barrier to our spacefaring future is the cost of defeating our planet's gravity.
It's much too expensive, not reliable enough to get into space. So NASA decided to undertake a bold new program called the X-33. If you think about it, an aircraft is a single stage. The plane takes off and it lands. It doesn't drop any butts. This is the same concept. So we want to prove that it would work. And not just work one time, but work hundreds and then thousands and tens of thousands of times. That's what we want to prove. And I tell you, once we do that, we don't need NASA. We've opened the space frontier.
The enormity of space divides it into two frontiers. The first is the greater cosmos, with its billions upon billions of galaxies, its complex patterns and stupendous energies. Places and objects we explore visually, but don't know how to reach. By any cosmic measure, the second space frontier warrants barely a thought. It sits at the fringe of a modest spiral galaxy, in the keeping of an unremarkable star. a collection of objects we call planets, one of which we call home. Our planetary neighborhood is a tiny island in space, but it's a frontier on the human scale, which we can reach and make our own. A frontier we first challenged 40 years ago and will conquer in the first decades of the new millennium.
The human mind must explore. We have to reach out. We need to be inspired. It is the human spirit, it is the projection of the human spirit into space that gives people things to hope for.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, Tranquility.
The high tide for the human spirit was Apollo.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Science fiction legend Arthur C. Clarke believes the first moonwalk is one of the few events for which the far future will remember our century.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
But drowned by the thunder of the Saturn 5 rockets were some disquieting numbers. Numbers which closed the lunar frontier within 4 years of its opening.
Houston, you are go for staging.
The Apollo was, of course, a three-stage vehicle. Really, bottom line was we started off with 5.5 million pounds. Then when we shed everything and got all the way back home, having gone all the way to the moon and back, we were down to about 8,000 pounds.
Each one-time moonshot cost around $3 billion, a price tag shunned by Congress once the glory of Apollo had dimmed. Today, after almost 3 decades to refine rocket technology, little has changed. With staged vehicles, boosting a single pound of material to orbit costs around $10,000.
3, main engine start, 1, 0, and liftoff of the Delta rocket with
More than $1.5 million for the weight of an average human.
For the last 25 years, all we did was fly the same old stuff.
initial set of solids falling away.
The reason that access to space is so terribly expensive is we build this very expensive hardware and throw it away each launch.
Oh, that looks beautiful from here.
NASA's first attempt to tackle the throwaway problem began while its astronauts were on the moon.
This looks like a good time for some good news here. The House passed.
News that Congress had agreed to fund a reusable vehicle was beamed to John Young and Charlie Duke of Apollo 16.
Proud to be an American. I'll tell you, what a program, and what a place, and what an experience. So am I. Century needs that shuttle right there.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, ignition sequence start, 5, 4.
The space shuttle, in many ways, is a triumph of technology.
Liftoff of the Space Shuttle Endeavour to develop the...
But it falls well short of the needs of the space frontier.
Roger roll, Endeavour.
Although the orbital vehicle is reused, the propulsion system is staged. 2/3 of it is jettisoned.
Booster officer confirms a good jettison of the twin solid rocket.
Also, the shuttle's operations and support crew numbers in the thousands, and months are needed to ready shuttles to launch again. The space shuttle is more expensive than the throwaway rockets it was meant to supersede. NASA's second assault on the throwaway problem gathered speed in 1996. 3 companies, Rockwell, McDonnell Douglas, and Lockheed Martin, had proposed revolutionary vehicles.
With years of hard work and determined leadership,
The 2nd of June was
still ahead,
decision day.
This is the craft that can carry America's dreams aloft and launch our nation into a sparkling new century. Congratulations to the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works.
Formerly the super-secret Advanced Projects Division of Lockheed, the Skunk Works forged its reputation with military aircraft. Like the radar-evading F-117, the stealth fighter, so effective over Baghdad during the Gulf War. And the high-flying spy plane, the SR-71 Blackbird. But in winning the X-33 tender, the Skunk Works has shouldered its greatest technical burden: to build, with the help of NASA, a small proof-of-concept launcher by the turn of the century. The forebear of a privately funded single-stage to-orbit vehicle, the Venture Star.
People say, is the technology ready at this point in time? Of course not. NASA is about doing very risky things to open the space frontier. We're going to press the boundaries. There's no guarantee.
The risk of the X-33 project is in challenging the laws of physics. To place a payload in a standard orbit, 120 miles up, a rocket must do two things: deliver around 3 Gs of thrust, or 3 times the acceleration due to gravity, and drive the payload to a horizontal velocity of around 17,000 miles per hour, so that when gravity drags it towards the Earth, the planet's curved surface falls away at the same rate. To date, this has required 3 or more groups of engines, each with its own tank of fuel. They kick in at different stages of the rocket's climb, and each performs best at a specific altitude. The design dilemma for the Skunk Works is to shed the pounds without shedding strength and reliability.
That is probably one of the biggest technical challenges. So we're going to go to composite materials that we've never ever built before. Composite materials are like your graphite tennis racket or the shaft on a golf club. But these materials don't just have to operate at room temperature. They have to operate at minus a few hundred degrees. So there'll be a whole new family of advanced composite materials coming out of this.
The family of rocket motors also is expecting a new arrival, an engine called a linear aerospike. Existing rockets use bell-shaped nozzles to enclose and control exhaust gases. Linear aerospikes shoot the gases across a broad central ramp. The gases aren't enclosed, so they're free to expand to the prevailing atmospheric pressure. This allows the engine to operate near maximum effectiveness at all altitudes. Crucial when it's the only engine you've got.
This new spacecraft will race with the speed of the fastest rocket and maneuver with the agility of a jet. And it will open new opportunities for commerce and research. Today we dream of new frontiers and gleaming new galaxies of opportunity. Today we dream of giving our daughters and sons the chance to see things and do things their grandparents could never possibly have imagined.
This program is brought to you in part by 3Com US Robotics, the #1 selling brand of modems in the world.
Ooh, that was fast. You wouldn't want to try this over there. Pull up a chair, honey. This will take a while.
A faster modem means a better internet experience.
Move it!
Upgrade to a 56K modem from 3Com US Robotics. Get $50 worth of music CDs when you buy any eligible 56K modem.
Bacon! Bacon! Where's the bacon? I smell bacon! 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 Gotta be bacon! Only one thing smells like bacon! That's bacon! Bacon, 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 bacon! There! From that bag! What's it say? I can't read! Please, please, give me what's in the bag! Chewy, yummy, smoky bacon!
There you go.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy! No, 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 no! It's bacon!
No, it's Bacon Strips, brand dog snack from Purina. Bacon Strips. Dogs don't know it's not bacon.
It's bacon!
For Dodge Intrepid, we looked beyond a great look and took cab-forward architecture to a new place. With a spacious cabin, a very useful pass-through, and a cavernous trunk, Intrepid is an automobile for today, wrapped in a shape for the next millennium. Well equipped for as low as $20,495.
Okay, here's our plan to help businesses handle the holiday rush with Priority Mail. We'll add extra planes. That should help a lot. We'll add extra trucks. That should help a lot too. We'll add extra people. A lot more help than any other shipper. But Priority Mail doesn't cost a lot. Just $3. So, what's your priority?
Archaeology, beaches, colonial sites, diving, eating, fiesta, good hotel, jungle, from A to Z, you name it, we've got it. Give us a call, 1-800-44-MEXICO, for every region, any season.
You're watching the Discovery Channel. Explore your world. From the Discovery Channel and ABC News, Discovery Newsbreak.
Good evening. The European Union has banned the use of 4 antibiotics in animals. Scientists have warned that eating meat from these animals can lead to more resistant strains of bacteria that can threaten human health. And New York City's police chief today proposed that DNA samples be taken along with fingerprints during arrests. They would be used to track repeat offenders. Privacy groups object. That's Discovery Newsbreak.
What time is it? It's Toon Time!
Now's the time to tune in to Toon Disney.
Now Disney tunes 24 hours a day.
All day, every day. Toon Disney is 24 hours of non-stop animated Disney magic.
Right now!
Toon Disney. Well, you'll find the cuddliest, the scariest, the tooniest characters on TV.
I want it now!
Now is the time to tune in to Toon Disney. Now see the best of Encore. Your favorite stars. Your favorite movies.
It's a scream, baby! There's no crying in baseball!
Our best movies of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And big hit movies of the 90s.
I promise.
This winter, see the best of Encore, where our best just keeps getting better.
To order, call 1-800-333-DISH.
The era of imagination. An era of global communications and global access to information will soon be with us. All of it made possible by access to space. Over the next decade, private consortiums will launch more than 900 satellites, bringing cellular telephone and high-bandwidth internet services to every point on the planet. These satellite constellations will rise with existing rocket technology, or with boosters in development, which will shave 30 or 40% from the cost of a launch today. But with VentureStar, the cost of deploying a satellite could be slashed by a factor of 10, bringing space within the reach of average companies, not just governments and giant corporations. Unfortunately, VentureStar will arrive too late to participate in the most ambitious space endeavor since Apollo. the first significant attempt to build in space. Space Station Alpha will be a science and technology institute 200 miles above the Earth. Spanning 360 feet, massing 450 metric tons, the station is a significant step towards long-held visions of cities in space. It will have 40,000 cubic feet of pressurized volume, the equivalent of 2 jumbo jets, and will generate enough electricity to power an apartment block. It will have a permanent staff of 6, scientists and engineers from the 13 nations backing the project.
3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
The United States is the project leader. NASA and the Russian Space Agency will do most of the heavy lifting. The shuttle will rise 29 times. Superstructure, habitation modules, airlocks, power plants, communications antennae, giant arrays of solar cells. Over the 5 years to completion in 2002, Alpha will grow like a celestial cloud of Legos. Building Space Station Alpha will cost more than $13 billion, an investment on which the prospects for return are far from certain. But the greatest dividend from Alpha's laboratories may come from their studies of the human condition in micro-G.
What's the single biggest problem we want to solve? We want to figure out how human beings could live and work safely and efficiently in space. Astronauts and cosmonauts are among the best documented people in the world, but we haven't been analytic enough to understand what drives the physiological processes. If we ever intend to leave the orbit of planet Earth, these astronauts and cosmonauts will be gone for years. And over the next decade, we want to prove that we could do that. That's the challenge at the space station.
Time is running out on Buick Swing into 99. And for a short time only, we've got numbers that'll make your head spin. Low 0.99 APR financing on every 99 Buick for an average finance savings of up to $4,200. And a new twist, monthly payments for 99 days. But these numbers won't be around much longer, so better jump now. Swing into your Buick dealer today.
Honey, I'm going to Staples to pick up a few gifts. Be back soon.
Attention, shoppers. Looking for the perfect gift? Well, check out aisle 3 for great prices on Sharp Mobile Organizer. And save on Panasonic phones. No, not you! You! Yes. And I, or any husband, would love one of those nice global chairs. I need a leather one. Get a leather chair!
For great gift ideas and over 7,000 items at guaranteed low prices at Staples. Yeah, we've got that.
I will remember you. Will you remember?
In December, every minute you talk on AT&T will mean an AT&T donation to the American Red Cross. The more calls you make, the more help we can give.
I will remember you.
This year, why not reach out to everyone you love so we can all reach out to those who need it most?
As Quake, Rattle, and Roll continues. Next on the Discovery Channel, explore your world. Go behind the scenes into the crime lab and meet the men and women who push science to its limits to put behind bars on a world premiere episode of New Detectives. Tomorrow at 9 Eastern and Pacific on the Discovery Channel. Explore your world.
In the new millennium, the first steps on another world are likely to follow trails blazed in the 60s.
there's so much more to do than is behind us. Some may have forgotten the moon, but the dream is very much alive.
Our return to the lunar surface is just a few years away. And the way we return could establish a new bottom line for those trying to make space pay.
It's fun to watch astronauts walk across the moon the first time or the second or third time, but we found by the sixth time no one tuned in.
David believes the lunar experience can be engaging, enduring, and profitable. In the year 2000, his company plans to launch 2 rovers designed by the Field Robotics Center of Pittsburgh. Over 24 months, they'll travel more than 500 miles from the Apollo 11 landing site north to Apollo 17 to the resting place of a Soviet rover which roamed the moon years ago. The biggest difference between Lunacorp's rovers and their Russian and American forebears is that millions will be along for the ride. Audiences will attach their minds to the vehicles, enjoying every twist and turn from theaters and theme parks. A lucky few will be allowed to drive.
With telepresence, you can project your senses to another planet, seeing everything that the robot sees and feeling everything the robot feels.
The robot is a mobile camera crew.
Oh, hey, there is orange soil. Well, don't move it till
In the 3 decades since Apollo, cameras and video links have come a long way.
Fantastic, sports fans.
Most of the astronauts commented on that video when they got back to Earth at how disappointed they were that it didn't actually show the subtle colors on the moon.
The rover project is taking the technology further still. Instead of targeting the lunar landscape, the cameras will capture the views reflected in a small panospheric mirror. On Earth, computers will turn the digital panorama into a variety of live images of a quality superior to high-definition TV.
Our main interest was in providing an immersive type of video experience for the viewers, so they could see both in front of them and off to the sides and in back and overhead to really get an experience of actually being on the moon.
The rover consortium is certain its show will pull the crowds, which will pay the bills, which will finance other lunar ambitions.
I think of the edutainment as a means, certainly not an end for this. I think it's important to see how little the moon that we've actually experienced to date and how much there is to know and discover elsewhere.
Our world's only natural satellite is a moon apart because it's big. The moon measures more than 2,100 miles across, about a quarter the diameter of the Earth. Although there are 5 larger satellites in the solar system, none comes as close as the moon to matching the size of its planetary parent. That's because no other satellite had such a violent birth. Around 4 billion years ago, the young Earth was struck by an object half its size. The moon coalesced from the debris. It also had a violent upbringing. Because the moon lacks the protection of an atmosphere, it's at the mercy of every object crossing its orbit. Trillions of cosmic impacts have scarred the lunar surface, in places spectacularly, when the intruder was an asteroid or comet. But most of the moon's craters are tiny, the work of objects no larger than a grain of salt.
That boat's gonna roll.
The eroding impacts of these micrometeorites have produced the fine clinging dust which blankets the lunar landscape.
You are filthy. You are black from the knees down. No way to avoid it.
This dust conceals lunar treasure. Analysis of samples returned by the Apollo missions and subsequent investigations by robotic probes have revealed a wealth of minerals. Elements like titanium, aluminum, and silicon are abundant on the moon. But much more important to the viability of the space frontier is a lunar resource which the Earth lacks. A resource which could help us unlock the power of the sun.
Helium-3, a relatively rare isotope of helium, is found on the moon, not in abundance, but at least it's there. Helium-3 is proposed as one of the best fuels for nuclear fusion. We are trying to develop fusion as the clean and cheap way of producing energy for the Earth. If we succeed in developing this technology, we need the fuel. And the value of going to the moon, getting the helium, and bringing it back is so enormous. You know, millions of times of return on your investment just because you can provide the Earth with its power.
Fusion research progresses slowly. Even if all goes according to plan, it's unlikely we'll have a commercial power station before 2050. But if development doesn't go according to plan and fusion technology continues to elude us, power from space remains an option.
We will be spending $20 trillion between now and perhaps the year 2020 to build new power plants. For that kind of money, we can build solar power satellites.
30 years ago, physicist Peter Glaser stunned the energy industry. He proposed the construction of 60 giant orbiting platforms to collect and transmit solar energy. Enough energy to light up North America.
At the time I was talking about this, my friend said, well, this sounds like science fiction.
That attitude changed with the oil shocks of the mid-1970s. Suddenly, Glaser's ideas were taken seriously. NASA and the Department of Energy subjected them to a detailed cost analysis.
Although they judged it to be technically feasible, no reason in principle that it couldn't work, and although when you had a large-scale constellation of solar power satellites in place, the financials looked pretty good, the getting there was just an insurmountable barrier, and the whole subject was essentially dropped.
The barrier was the old enemy, gravity. Even for the launch systems of the mid-21st century, which at the moment are little more than theory, boosting the thousands of tons of material required would carry a substantial price tag. The answer, once again, is the moon.
Tranquility Base, Houston, you're cleared for takeoff.
Gravity at the lunar surface is only a sixth of what we feel at the surface of the Earth.
Right away, Houston. Vector good. Good to see you. Good to have you all back up here.
From the moon, getting into space is easy. From the moon, building giant structures in space would be easy. Lunar mines and factories would propel the space frontier into the big league. Finding the right places to build is a job for robot prospectors, both on high and, more importantly, on the surface.
Whereas you do some things from orbit, is nothing that replaces the ground truth experience that's possible from a surface roving robot, and the ability to be in contact with instruments right on the ground.
Most proposals for the first lunar outpost call for robot scouts and for robot construction crews. Their job is to prepare the way for humans. But some suggest these plans fail to give robots their due, that they overlook decades of robotic achievement.
Galileo reports positive telemetry of the boy.
Although no human has left Earth orbit since 1972, the threshold has been crossed time and again. Machines have toured the planets and moons, sensing, measuring, mapping. Probes have been sent to the baking surface of Venus and to the freezing wastes of Mars. They've rendezvoused with asteroids and comets and dived into the violent atmosphere of Jupiter. Another generation of robotic spacefarers, more powerful, more capable, is being developed for the new century.
There seems to be an elite few who say that you could do anything with robotic spacecraft and you don't need humans in space. I completely disagree with that.
Hey, what's the serial number on that one, Jeff? You got a way to identify it for me?
Robots are good, but let's take the Hubble Space Telescope. It had an aberration in its mirror, and we had to put a contact lens on the Hubble telescope.
Let me go put this on the telescope first. I have the door.
You couldn't put a contact lens on a Hubble telescope if you didn't use people.
I'll take the needle-nose pliers caddy. Here's a...
We need the human experience. When the astronauts come back, people want to know what it's like being in space. This is another reason we want to open the space frontier. Those people want to go into space. We don't have to have the select few.
Together, robots and humans will build industrial parks on the moon. At their center, habitation modules, shielded from radiation by thick blankets of lunar soil. Eventually, there'll be tourism, lunar hotels. There are, however, strict limits to our lunar ambitions. Development on the moon faces an enormous obstacle. Despite suggestions of ice deposits at the lunar poles, our satellite is one of the driest bodies in the solar system. If most of the water needed by settlers has to be supplied from Earth, there'll be very few settlers. Fortunately, there's a better place for humans on the space frontier. It's 100 times as distant as the moon, but its environment has much to offer. It is the planet Mars.
It is a world with a surface area equal to all the continents of Earth put together that has on it all the resources needed to support not only life, but someday a new branch of human civilization. And the only way that that branch of human civilization is going to be established is if humans go there.
If that weren't reason enough to open the Martian frontier, there's another way in which its call is compelling. In 1996, we learned that our planetary neighbor could hold the answer to the greatest question of all. Are we alone?
You have to dig deep to find the source of Intrepid's solid feel. Reinforced door openings, strategically placed steel beams, and an isolated suspension cradle all contribute to Intrepid's supple ride. Take away that sturdy foundation and you have, well, nothing. Dodge Intrepid. We're changing everything. Again. Well equipped. $20,495.
Welcome to the world of Panasonic Sonic Shaving, the new linear razor. At 12,000 RPMs, it's the world's fastest shaving system. Shave wet, or dry. Panasonic. Get up to speed.
Send your customers 2-day holiday packages with FedEx and we'll deliver, even on Saturdays, for an extra $10.
Send your customers 2 to 3-day holiday packages with priority mail and we'll deliver. Holiday packages at no extra charge.
Send your customers 2-day holiday packages with UPS and we'll deliver. But not on Saturdays. Sorry.
So, what's your priority?
Quake, rattle, and roll continue. Next on the Discovery Channel, explore your world. Take the journey. Sidetrack. It's an underground city with priceless treasures and hidden chambers. Not unusual for an ancient wonder, except here, everyone is dead. And strangely enough, their days are numbered. Why? Go below the surface as science works against time, saving Egypt's city of the dead on Sidetrack. Next Monday at 9 Eastern and Pacific on the Discovery Channel. Explore your world.
Are you planning a move soon? Don't take your dish antenna down. With Dish Network's Dish Mover program, you don't have to. Just leave your dish antenna installed at the house you're moving from, and we'll send you a replacement antenna at your new home free, and we'll install it at a great discount. We know moving isn't easy, and the last thing you need is another detail to handle. With just one call to 1-800-333-DISH, your Dish Network service can be moved to your new home. With Dish Network, one call does it all.
My name is Quinn Rathitz. I'm at the Thornton Call Center. This is to wish everyone a happy winter holiday season.
Happy holidays from Dish Network.
Hi, I'm Paul O'Brien. I repair receivers for EchoStar, and Merry Christmas.
If any story is stranger than fiction, it's the tale of the Martian microfossils. It includes an epic journey through space and time, incredible luck, and an extraordinary feat of analysis. The story goes that life evolved on Mars more than 3.5 billion years ago. 16 million years ago, an asteroid or comet hit the planet, hurling into space a small rock containing fossils of microscopic organisms. 13,000 years ago, the rock fell in Antarctica, burying itself in the ice cap. 13 years ago, it emerged from the ice, was found by American meteorite hunters, and delivered to a NASA-led team of scientists. 3 years ago, newly developed instruments and techniques delivered those scientists something they scarcely believed.
The night that we discovered the segmented worm, that was the first time it really shook me, that we have evidence of something that appeared to be living, that we're seeing a fossil. I had difficulty that night sleeping.
It would only take one other example of life on any other planet, probably to completely revolutionize our view of life in general. Because if it can happen twice in one solar system, then the origin of life is no longer the improbable event that we had suspected. It suddenly becomes a highly probable event. Then immediately what that means is that the universe really is teeming with life.
It demands further scientific investigation. We must investigate, evaluate, validate this discovery. And it's certain to create lively scientific debate and controversy, to which the administrator says, outstanding.
If controversy was what it craved, NASA had reason to be well satisfied. The microfossil findings are hotly disputed.
The claims are based upon a very strong data set, And we feel that the data set is going to stand the test of time. And yes, we put our necks on the lines, but this is what we felt we had to do, and we want the scientific world to be aware of it and to go out and either prove it or possibly disprove it.
The process of evaluation and validation began with Mars Pathfinder. Unlike the Moon, Mars has large reservoirs, frozen at the poles, and perhaps in a global layer of permafrost. But the shape and composition of rocks examined by Pathfinder's rover confirmed that billions of years ago, water flowed across a warm Martian landscape.
The one single sole ingredient that is absolutely required for life as we know it is liquid water. No liquid water, no life.
NASA's immediate strategy is to continue its robotic program, as many as a dozen missions over the next decade. The collective goal of these probes is to find the ideal site for a sample return robot, which will deliver Martian rocks to the powerful instruments of Earth-bound laboratories. But even a sample return from the place most likely to conceal Martian fossils may fail to give us the answers.
Unless life had really teemed on Mars and had covered the planet, a negative result will never allow you to conclusively say there was no life on Mars.
So we are entering an Martian atmosphere.
To answer the questions, did life evolve on Mars and what happened to that life? The need for humans to go to Mars is, in my opinion, absolutely essential.
Putting humans on the surface of the red planet would be space exploration's most ambitious project. Few doubt the mission's worth. Human explorers could achieve more than hundreds of robotic probes. The questions are when and how. The mission could begin within a decade, using technology the bulk of which exists today. First, we send an unmanned supply vessel that carries a machine to convert the Martian atmosphere, which is mostly carbon dioxide, into enough rocket fuel to get home.
Once that's done, then you launch the other rocket and you shoot the crew out to Mars. They don't have to fly to Mars in a giant Battlestar Galactica spaceship. They can fly to Mars in a basic habitation module like a big tuna can.
3, 2, 1.
The travel time is 6 months.
We have liftoff for Antares.
With 17 months on Mars before the planets realign for the return journey. In all, the mission would take 2.5 years, twice the current endurance record for humans in space.
We want to give them the ability pretty much to take care of themselves with the equipment that they've got there for almost an indefinite period of time, as opposed to being very dependent for their very existence on a resupply mission which may or may not make it.
On my left, ascent back into lunar orbit.
At the moment, space travelers rely on machines, physical chemical systems to recycle air and water. NASA wants plants to share the burden of life support. Dwarf strains of wheat and soybeans are being developed. Strains which enjoy high concentrations of carbon dioxide and thrive in artificial light.
Plants do require more tendering than physical chemical systems. But then again, they don't tend to fail very quickly either.
With reliable life support, the astronauts could confidently explore hundreds of square miles, reaching places no robot could reach. They'll look for fossils, but also for survivors.
Chevy.
This is Lusk, Wyoming. Cows outnumber people here 100 to 1. The thing that isn't apparent about Lusk is it's wired. Lusk has strung fiber optic cable for the future of high-speed internet. The schools have 320 computers for 500 kids. Home businesses on PCs are common. Why? They're practical people. They want to talk to the outside world using technology. They want to save their ranches with technology. They want to talk to the kids who've left and keep more kids from leaving by having the technology. They want to save their small town and keep it exactly the way they want to save it, and they're using everything they can think of to do that. And technology is a tool. Software is a tool. These are the dreams it's made for. And that's why we make it.
Bacon! Bacon! Where's the bacon? I smell bacon! 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 Gotta be bacon! Only one thing smells like bacon! That's bacon! Bacon, 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 bacon! There! From that bag! What's it say? I can't read! Please, please, give me what's in the bag! Chewy, smoky bacon!
There you go.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy! No, 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 no! It's bacon!
No, it's bacon strips, brand dog snack from Purina. Bacon strips. Dogs don't know it's not bacon.
It's bacon!
Do you have trouble driving in the rain? Is the glare unbearable at night? That's why STP created Vision Blade glass treatment. Vision Blade forms an invisible barrier that repels water and virtually eliminates glare. It applies in minutes, and it lasts for 6 months. This muddy water sticks to the glass on the untreated side. But with Vision Blade, the dirt and grime sheets away, and your view remains clear. And now Vision Blade is available in 2 sizes to meet all drivers' needs. See what you've been missing with Vision Blade.
As Quake, Rattle, and Roll continues. Next on the Discovery Channel, explore your world. In an era where killers have become smarter and their crimes leave less clues, police have turned to science for help. Go behind the scenes into the crime lab and meet the men and women who solve the unsolvable. Specializing in human decay, forensic toxicology, and hair and fiber analysis, they push science to its limits to put killers behind bars. Find out how on a world premiere episode of New Detectives, tomorrow at 9 Eastern and Pacific on the Discovery Channel. Explore your world.
20 years ago, the 2 Viking landers failed to find life in the top layer of Martian soil. But Mars' atmosphere has no ozone layer, no shield to sterilizing ultraviolets. Today, we know the soil wasn't the place to look. In the last 2 decades, we've reassessed our own planet's biosphere, its living zone. It covers more of the globe than anyone suspected.
And there's almost nowhere you can go on the Earth that doesn't have evidence for life. You can go to the Antarctic dry valleys, and there are microbes living in the outer centimeter of sandstones in the interstices, where the water is kept liquid by the sunlight on the rock.
It's also a deep biosphere. We found microorganisms in the walls of mine shafts 3 miles down. Even in the crushing depths of our oceans, life has found a home. In the wall of the black smokers, hydrothermal vents spewing superheated chemicals. Places without sunlight or oxygen, where microorganisms thrive in temperatures higher than boiling point. Mars, too, might have hot spots, perhaps beneath its extinct volcanoes.
We know, for example, that near the Tharsis Bulge, where there are these very young volcanic surfaces, that there must still be plenty of heat on the interior of Mars. And there could be hydrothermal systems from those hot zones which are percolating up towards this surface. And there's some possibility that you could have primitive life forms living in those hot zones.
After 500 days of exploration, of searching for the answers to fundamental questions, the first humans on the red planet will come home. But unlike the moonshots 30 years ago, in which little of value was left behind, the hard-won Martian frontier will be seeded with the hardware of colonization.
They leave their habitat module behind on Mars, so each time you do this, you add another habitat to the base, and gradually, in fact very rapidly, we build up the beginning of the first human settlement on a new world.
The challenge for those settlers will be awesome. Although it's more clement than the moon, the Martian climate is deadly. The atmosphere is poisonous, and 100 times thinner than the atmosphere of Earth. The average surface temperature is minus 60 degrees centigrade. For decades, there's been talk of making Mars Earth-like, of unleashing greenhouse gases to return the planet to the warm, wet state of its youth. Today, there's talk of solutions even more radical.
Biomedical technology will allow us to modify bodies. We will be able to genetically engineer maybe ourselves or a next generation to breathe that air, that very thin air, and live, to withstand the cold without big, thick spacesuits that we have to take on and off all the time and that can wear out and break. I believe it will happen.
200 years from now, there will be a new branch of human civilization with its own customs, its own story to tell, its own chapter that it's written, added to the human story. And when they look back on our time, they won't care of whether we had a balanced budget or a national health plan or who was in power in Kuwait or Nicaragua, okay? They won't even know most of these things. But what we did to bring their civilization into being, that will be significant. You know, if we did it over 20 years, with the first 10 years to develop the hardware, the second 10 years to fly the missions, you know, you're talking about spending around $2 billion a year, which is 15% of NASA's budget. It's less than 1% of the U.S. military budget. It's a very small price to pay for opening up a new world.
Learn all about our first steps to establish an outpost in space. Get into the inner world of the new International Space Station at Discovery.com. This Wednesday, go behind the themes of nature as New Sea Life teaches us about evolution.